What is up, everyone? Today, boom, Book 2, Arm of the Sphinx, Josiah Bancroft, Books of Babel series. So you may be wondering about the title to this. Well, yes, it's weird. And if you don't want to hear my real-world parallels, there will be timestamps, so you can easily skip around, and it's no big deal. Also, I will say in my Book 1 review, which I will link in the description, I said this series, or the first book at least, felt like magical realism, and there were reasons for that. There was things like not knowing how many floors are in the tower, and the concept of time being weird and stuff. But things are definitely more concrete in this book. Things are definitely way more steampunk in this book. Obviously, the end of Book 1, you really started to feel the steampunk, and, there's a crew of people. And it's a great crew, isn't it? Just a hodgepodge team of, rebels, pirates. I don't know. What do you want to call these people? And, whereas Book 1 was more about Senlin, it was all Senlin all the time. Book 2, we have the crew, which is Senlin, of course, Edith, Adam, Valletta, and Irene. And I really get into all of these characters much more in this book. The only character I really felt like I knew super well at the end of the first book was Senlin, and I know people connected with Edith and stuff in the first book, but it wasn't really until this book for me that I started liking the non-Senlin characters. And especially Edith in this book with the arm, of course, and, she's Mr. Winters now. She has some authority. And the first part of the book is just fun. The crew pirating and things. And they're on the quest to find the Sphinx. Now, who is the Sphinx? What is the Sphinx? Well, all will become more clear in time, I assume, in the third book as well. But the Sphinx is really a metaphor for power, I guess. But we really find out more about the power structure and the struggle for power between different factions in this book. And there was this scene between Edith, Senlin, and, a third powerful individual. And this third individual is like, oh yeah, like the powers that be, they're horrible. That's why I'm working to overthrow them. But this individual is just as problematic, abusive of his power as the powers that be. So, and, Edith and Thomas Senlin have good moral compasses. So we kind of see how much room they have to operate within the confines of their moral systems, within the context of the world and this power structure that, is very exploitative of many people. And the entire crew knows of the exploitation. And yeah, that's when this book really picked up for me. The interactions between, regular people, Thomas Senlin, Edith, who have some sense of what is right, confronting power structures. And this is where we're going to start talking about Amazon, the company, not the rainforest, of course. And of course, these strikes are recent news. This book came out quite some time ago, so obviously Bancroft wasn't considering the Bessemer, Alabama strikes when he was writing this book, but labor strikes and labor struggle and class struggle is something that's been true for centuries. And substitute the Amazon strikes for the Chicago teacher strikes or the West Virginia coal mine strikes 100 years ago or whatever. And the theme is always trying to organize workers against the powerful. And what are some of the struggles with that? Well, the first struggle is power is always more aligned with their motives. And of course, their motive is capital, to make money, to enrich their business, etc., etc. And that a lot of times goes hand in hand with control of the means of production, the systems of governance, and stuff of that nature. Now, sometimes workers have similar motives. Most workers would enjoy a pay raise. Some workers might want to work less hours. They might want to have better or safer working conditions. And you can see that in these Amazon strikes, right? Like warehouse jobs, a lot of times they pay more than $15 an hour, which is what Amazon pays their warehouse staff for the most part, from what I understand. UPS and FedEx both pay their drivers more than Amazon pays their drivers. In Bessemer, I believe they were like changing the shifts around to make them longer shifts with like very early bad hours, or at least bad from a worker standpoint. It was like 1 a.m. to 12 or noon or whatever, with 1 20-minute break. And people are like, well, I can't take my kids to school. I can't wake my kids up. But I mean, some workers don't have kids, so that wasn't a problem for them. And they might need the extra hours for extra money. I don't know. And then there are certain people who just need the job. They aren't going to, strike or unionize and risk losing their job to maybe get a little bit higher of a wage or maybe get a little bit better of working conditions. And they might think, well, this current plague that we're in, I mean, yeah, it would be nice if we had better working conditions or safer working conditions. But after the time we unionize and, have time to negotiate, the plague will hopefully be over. So, it might not be worth it for me. But that's where class solidarity comes in, right? Like, you should have solidarity with your coworkers who just got screwed because their hours were changed. You should have solidarity for people who aren't paid enough to feed their family. I mean, ideally, at least if our society was more class conscious. Now, how do we tie that back into this? Because, the steampunk era is good for talking about labor issues, unionizing, strikes, working conditions, industrialization, like bad, unsafe factory jobs, and just general worker exploitation. Because even though the people of this crew will all have a different history and different ways of being screwed by the powerful and different ways of being exploited, Senlin and Edith are kind of very good vehicles for instilling some amount of class solidarity. And, it's kind of funny because Senlin, when you look at him, especially in book 1, but even continued into this book, he's just like a derpy teacher. He's not like super charismatic or anything. He's not really like great at talking or like negotiating or like being a politician. And, we see that in this book. Senlin's trying to negotiate, and these scenes are so fun when he's trying to negotiate because he's just not doing well. And, I've been there too. I'm not like a politician or anything. But Senlin can galvanize people, can instill this sort of class solidarity. And, he has his own style of charisma. You don't have to be like this insanely charismatic politician to just have like an ounce of empathy. And, with the empathy, you can like talk to people. You don't have to coerce or manipulate, people into doing things that aren't in their best interest. But again, class dynamics, powerful interest, within this book are very manipulative, very good at exploiting, people and exploiting the characters in this book. They all have histories. I mean, you don't become a pirate if you have a nice, stable 9-to-5 job, do you? And geez, yeah, what am I even talking about? It's crazy because the first book, I thought it was going to be like this guy, he's in this tower, he loses his wife, the tower is very big, it's very difficult to find her. But like, no, we've moved way, way beyond that. And also the magic, the mystery, what have you, behind the tower. We're starting to like really learn a lot more about it. We know how many rings the tower has, which is new. We learn more about why the tower is here, why it was built, what it was the purpose for it being built, and maybe how it's changed over the decades. And, I've got a few possible predictions on who the Sphinx is and what's going on with the Sphinx. Oh, and also the ending. My good, like, what? Oh, man, this is craziness. I can't say anymore if I want to keep it no spoilers, but yeah, I mean, I read the last page 3 times this morning because I was just so confused about what happened. And oh my god, manipulation. Yes, George Orwell would approve of some of the things that happen towards the end of this book. That's all I'll say. And by I don't mean actually approve. I mean like he would write about. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. That's everything. I don't know why this series makes me think of like real world situations. In my first review, I was talking about MLK's rugged individualism, and in this one, I'm talking about all this. But yeah, I think these books are good for thinking about power, systems of power. That's everything. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Sorry for talking so much real world stuff. But, it was on my mind. I know Amazon workers lost this unionization battle, but, next one, maybe. And yeah, see you guys next time.